last night I had a very interesting situation happen when I was trying to sleep. Kind of made me reminisce on another situation from a few years ago. I actually did tell a story about the time I had a little bit too many edibles, weed edibles, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. And I told the story, but this was really, I don't know how many subscribers I had, maybe a few thousand at that point. So I was like, maybe I should retell it. But yeah, last night, this is probably like only the second or third time. Well, technically, I don't really don't know, but it's one of the only times it's happened where it's like the weird phenomenon where you struggle to breathe. And it happened to me last night, and I was just kind of laying in bed on my phone, and I just felt like shit. I felt terrible, but it's not like I'm sick or anything like that, like I have a fever. It's nothing like that. It's just, my mind, my brain, it just feels horrible. And I was like, not that I was struggling to breathe, but I was laying down and I thought to myself in the back of my mind, I was like, I don't know what's going on. And it was almost like, I was trying to take deep breaths to make sure I was breathing. And in the back of my mind, I thought, I was like, you got to sit up right now to make sure you're breathing. But I didn't do it. I kind of disregarded it. I'm like, this is ridiculous. What's going on? It's, I'm winding down. I'm trying to sleep. And by the way, I can't take that magnesium anymore. Oh my God. Yeah, the magnesium does a little bit too much for it. It puts me out, but then I'm up like 3 hours later. It's very strange. The magnesium is very powerful, at least for me. Then again, it feels like I'm hypersensitive to a lot of different things, but I was trying to sleep and I just, I was like, what is going on? So I actually did have to sit up and like, like breathe, like just to make sure I was breathing. It reminded me of that one video. I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen it, of the millionaire dude who got charged with arson. I don't know what his finances were like, but the dude was like a former millionaire. This video has like 11 million views on YouTube, and he got charged with arson, and he brought a cyanide pill to the sentencing. And it's actually a genius idea if that's the route you want to go, because technically, you're not going to be able to bring a gun to the sentencing. If you want to off yourself, the only way to do it is through some type of pill. And the idea is, well, if I get years in prison, I'm just going to take this pill and die. I don't want to deal with prison. This is a, white dude who's like probably 50 years old. He was a former millionaire. He burned his own house down to try and get insurance fraud, and it ended up backfiring, and they charged him 10 years in jail. And immediately after it was read, he took the cyanide pill, and cyanide is just such a horrible way to go. It really is. I guess it depends, because I know the Nazis took cyanide, and they had a different type of capsule where you bit down on it. I remember doing a lot of research into cyanide when I was younger. I don't, you know what? I think it was burnt almonds. I think that's the taste you get from cyanide. It might be something different. This was a while ago when I was doing research into it, but yeah, the dude took a cyanide capsule, and it was just so interesting. It was like a 5-minute period in between him ingesting the cyanide, and the most interesting thing was he started snorting when he was trying to breathe, like, because I basically cyanide, what it does, it drowns you out of water. So it's like you're drowning, but there's no water around you. Your body doesn't know what's happening. It deprives you the ability to get oxygen. It's a horrible, horrible death. And really, like, if you take cyanide, you're going to have a really, really bad, probably 45 seconds, maybe less. I don't know how long it takes to actually knock you out when it kicks in, but it is a terrible, terrible death. And that's kind of what I was like. I was like, did I ingest cyanide somehow last night? That's what I was thinking. And I tried to like reverse engineer it and think, because, you go through stages when you deal with stuff like this, like the idea to, when you're struggling to breathe, and I'm trying to like breathe in and like, and I was just like, what did I take? There's no way that this is normal, but it's so important to stay calm in moments like that, because I was actually really able to calm myself after like a panic of about 30 to 40 seconds of it last night, probably around 1 o'clock. And my sleep schedule is so messed up again. I really didn't, it's just, I don't even want to talk about it, but it reminded me of the time I had 3 edibles, little gummy edibles, weed edibles, and it's just the noobest shit ever. So I guess I'll just set the stage. This is probably by this point around 4 years ago or something. And this was another time where I don't even know why I got these, but you could just get weed online. I guess it depends what state you're in, but I just got weed edibles online. And for whatever reason, I did no research into it, but I thought weed edibles would calm me down and technically they can. It just depends on your, chemical makeup. But overall, weed edibles are very potent, and I would, certainly not recommend them if you don't have much experience with other hallucinogens. But I decided to get them, and this was probably like around December, early December. So like the sun was setting at like fucking 4:40. It's terrible. I remember that night because I had dinner really early, like 4:15, 4:30. I remember that package coming. Oh yes, the package came really late. I did not order it off of Amazon. I'm not even sure if you probably can't. You can get anything off Amazon, but I ordered it off of like a legit weed site. And it came at like 4:30. I remember going out to get it, and it was like dusk out. It was like almost dark. And I remember eating dinner pretty early, like 4:45. And then I took this little gummy weed edible. It was like, it's like one of those Sour Patch things, like whatever, like chewy. And I just took one of them, and I really didn't feel anything. And I'm under the false premise that, all right, weed edibles, they're weak, they don't do much. I'm just trying to, go to sleep or, whatever, have a nice little night. And so I was under that premise. Obviously, it's completely false. You really don't know how your body's going to act to an edible because you digest it. It's not just like smoking it and having inhalation that way. It actually digests through your entire system. So after about 25 minutes, it really wasn't doing anything. And I think if I only would have taken one, I probably still would have gotten fucked up. But this is just, not doing any research, being dumb. I was like, this is weak, whatever. I'll just take two more. I mean, number one, I probably should have just taken one more anyways, but I don't know why I decided to take two more. But obviously, I think what was happening is I was about to start feeling the first one, but I compounded it by taking two more, and I just like exploded my entire body by doing that. And I remember the stages of it. Well, it wasn't even stages, and it's not even like there were any hallucinations. Most people talk about hallucinations. It was really none of that. I was in the moment, but I was laying back in my bed, and it felt like I was sinking below my bed. Or no, it was just my pillow. Like my pillow was sinking below. It was a weird sensation. But then the sensation developed into just the struggle to breathe, and just, I can't even really explain it. I had to get up and start walking around my room. And my room's like pitch black. It's like 6 o'clock at night. It's dark out. It's just brutal. And there's like Christmas lights outside and everything. And then I went out to like my banister, like outside of my room, and into the hallway, and started walking around there. And I was like, what is going on? And I was thinking to myself, I was like, I'm going to have to fucking tell my mom about this if this keeps getting worse and worse. I tried to like walk it off, but I couldn't do it. So then I went downstairs and I told my mom, I was like, I'm really fucked up. And I ended up sitting down on the couch in our basement. And I was like leaning over, and my mom was like, you need to sit back. I was like hunched over. But it was just this whole weird thing where I felt like if I were to sit up, I wouldn't be able to breathe. And it got so bad when I was on the couch, I had to put my hand directly in front of my nose. So I would, know that I'm breathing by my nose, creating wind onto my hand. Like I had my hand directly in front of my nose, and I'm feeling the wind from my nostrils come out. So it's like to make sure, like, okay, I'm breathing. Like that's how weird it was. And I was so fucked up. I could barely walk or do anything. It's not like you're drunk or nothing like that. It's a completely different level. And my heart rate was crazy. And one of the other interesting things, I mean, technically there's nothing wrong with you when you're in that state. Like if I were to look at myself in third person, like if I just stand up while I'm completely fucked up, and you just look at yourself from third person, realistically, there's like nothing wrong with you. It's just your mind is so fucked up. It's so fucked up. It was an interesting time. I remember laying down back in my bed, at around 2 or 3 a.m. and just, that sleep that I had. It was a good sleep, but I woke up and I was so tired the next day. The next day was a Saturday. I was so tired throughout that entire day. But yeah, that's just a little reminiscent of that, just from a weird moment I had last night. And then, you know what? I think this is probably going to be my logo. I would say this is probably my logo. I showed the other one. To be honest, the other one it kind of looks like ISIS. I'm not even gonna lie. So this is probably actually going to be my logo. I'm not sure if I'm going to replace my, channel profile picture. I don't think that would necessarily be a good idea. But to actually have a legitimate logo, and it's just a DG. But again, just like I talked about the last Storytime video I did, I like the look of where it's a DG, but it's hard to really tell. Like, it's got its own distinct theme, and I just think it looks cool personally. So, yeah, that'll probably be my logo. I don't think I'm going to change my channel profile pic to that logo. Yes, it would probably be more, more professional, but the thing that you guys have to understand, most of my videos, pretty much all of them, they don't include face cam, and I would love to change that. Like, I'd love to make vlogs and everything like that, but right now none of them include face cam, so I think it's very important. And I actually updated my picture because the other picture was from like 4 years ago. It's like at some point you actually have to update it. So I updated my picture, and I think it's probably best that I leave my profile pic as like a picture of me so people know what I look like. Because if you click on a video and you just see, just somebody talking with no face, people want to be able to put, a face to the voice. And so that's why I've always had my actual profile picture not be a logo, because it's so easy to get logos and everything like that. But I just think that's a cool logo. But I don't think I'm going to change my actual channel to that logo, like the profile pic to the logo. I think I'm going to keep it as my own face. But either way, just kind of reminiscing on an interesting situation. Yeah, I mean, like, it's such a primitive thing too, like struggling to breathe. It's so obvious. And then there's, of course, there's that other thing, which is a lot less serious, but sometimes this happens to me. More recently, it's been happening a few times where you remember that you're breathing and it kind of psychs you out. Very few people are going to be able to understand this. It's a weird quirk that some people have where, like, when someone's like, you randomly start focusing on your breathing and you can't stop, you can't get it out of your head. I'm actually horrible when it comes to sleeping with any sort of noise. And I've had this thing where my bed is right next to a vent, and my vent has been creaking, and I actually tried pouring water down it so it would shut up, and it actually worked. But this vent was like just very rarely like doing a little creaky, like, because it was generating the warm air because it's winter right now. And it was like creaking, and I'm like, this thing needs to just shut up. I was going to have to unscrew the vent and like bang on it to get it to shut up, but I poured water down it and it quieted. But it was barely any water. It was just, just to get it to, stop vibrating. I think that's what it was doing. It was like creaking or something. But me sleeping with any sort of noise, it's so hard. It might actually, the best investment probably is some type of really good earbuds and learning how to sleep with them for me, like noise canceling. But the problem is with like noise canceling stuff, it makes your another thing, when I was really fucked up on those edibles, I could not swallow. It felt like I was being choked when I would swallow. So every time I would swallow, I would have to put a ton of effort into it, like, and do it really quickly. It's funny. It is kind of funny now, but it was weird. It was like, it felt like I was choking myself when I was swallowing. So I tried not swallowing, and then when I would swallow, it would be like really quick, and I would have to like build up and do it. It was just a strange, sensation. But either way, that is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.